Welcome to the PhoneArena video review of the Kyocera Echo. The Echo was the world's first dual-screen device and is available at Sprint for $199 on a 2-year contract. The Echo features a 1 GHz Snapdragon processor with 512 megs of RAM, a gig of ROM, and a 5 megapixel camera capable of snapping HD video at 720p. As you can see, the first display is on the front here. It's 3.5 inches with a resolution of 480 by 800. It's nice and bright, the colors are pretty good on it, and even though it's a little bit warm, it's much better than we saw from the Sanyo, Kyocera's previous Android device. Along the left hand here we'll find everything. You have the 3.5mm headset jack, the micro SD slot. It comes preloaded with an 8 gig card but can be used with 32 gig cards. Here we find the power button, the volume rocker. This is the micro SD port for charging and data, and we have the lanyard loop at the bottom. We don't like the fact that everything's crammed onto this one side. You could utilize the bottom, especially for things like power and headphone jacks, whereas usually where we plan to find those. The biggest issue is the volume rocker is quite small, and while it is definitely distinguishable from the power button, it's not extremely distinguishable, so there are some times when we're trying to work blindly and don't get exactly what we want. On the back of the device, you can see the 5 megapixel camera with LED flash, and the phone's single speaker is down there as well. The battery door is quite simple. Slide it up, pull it off, and you have the battery. Battery life on the Echo is not very good. We can easily go through battery in just a few hours with only moderate use. Heavy use, we can go through it even quicker. Thankfully, Kyocera and Sprint is including this second battery with charger. It's pretty cool. The second battery pops in, this slides down, and then you can charge it. You'll notice you have a micro USB as well as a regular USB and a little switch. The micro USB is for charging when you switch it over that way. And then this can be used as a battery pack to charge the Echo. So if you want to flip it over and charge that way, you can charge as well. Frankly, we're not quite sure why you would do that, because why wouldn't you just take out the battery as opposed to plugging the phone in? But I guess if you're in a situation where you can't take the battery out of the phone, you're in the middle of something, and you want to charge it, this can be handy on the go. Also, though, it means that you have to carry your USB cable with you. So, let's get back to the phone. Those are the formalities. Now let's see the real trick here. So, this is the world's first dual-screen device. The first one, like we said, 3.5 inches, 480 by 800 resolution. Second one, also 3.5 inches, 480 by 800 resolution. And when you put the two together, it combines for a 4.7 inch display, which is 800 by 960 in resolution. It's pretty nice. Obviously, you're going to have this bar in the middle. It is something you get used to. But as you can see, the screens work well in conjunction with each other. Another nice touch by Kyocera is the fact that the Android launcher bar has switched to the side. If we flip it over in the other mode, we're going to see it's back down at the bottom where we expect it. However, if you have it in this mode, it would be broken up by the bar here and just kind of a pain. So a nice little touch by the software designers there. The screen's nice and bright. The colors are good. The size is pretty good. They call this tablet mode. It's not really a tablet. Something like the Galaxy Tab or the HTC Flyer or Evo View 4G is a much bigger device, even at 7 inches. This is more on par with the Dell Streak. However, we will see that this is a much more square design than your typical display. Even when it's closed, this is more of a traditional widescreen display, which you see with videos and what you're used to on large touchscreen devices like this. So, in certain things like web browsing, this will actually come in handy because you have a wider area as well. So, on to some of the quirks and the user interface. Let's take a look at exactly how the Kyocera Echo works with the two displays. For your normal things, all you have is a display in each one. Let's load the Android market. We should note that we have this tablet mode version on, which means the apps will run both sides of the display. It says that it's not compatible with all apps. However, we haven't found any that it's not compatible with yet. The first thing we're seeing on this is that the Echo is kind of slow. We're connected to a very fast Wi-Fi connection right now, so we don't have any lag in terms of the internet connection, but this market is taking extremely long to load. We found this throughout the device. Either it takes forever to do things or it'll temporarily lock up, and that's really surprising given the fact that it's running on a Snapdragon processor with what should be plenty of memory. But now that it is finally loaded up for the most part, we can see that on the right panel here we have our apps, and again it's not fully loaded so we can't really do anything with it. And on the left side here we have the traditional market view. Not really sure what's happening right now. Apparently we selected an app. But you can see that there is definitely some lag. It's not always this bad. There are other times that this thing moves like butter. So we're very hopeful that in the future software update they can take care of this. Now, let's go back home and open up our messaging app. The messaging app, we've got a conversation already loaded, talking to Google. And as you can see, it spans both displays, no problem. Once we hit the text box, the keyboard comes up on the bottom, and that we can type out. Since this is the swipe keyboard, we could also swipe it. But let's bring it back. If we tap both displays, that will bring up our simultask options. So we've got messaging loaded down here. Let's go ahead and open up our email up at the top. Now we don't have anything configured yet, so that's probably a bad example. This doesn't work for Gmail. This is just the regular stock email app that we were doing there. Try this again. Let's go ahead and go to the browser. Alright, you can see our web page is loaded on the top while our conversation is still down here on the bottom. If we do this, we can still tap, the browser gets displaced for a minute, we can type out our thing, and then once we go back, the browser comes back. If you want, we now have the switch button where we can switch screens. Very cool. And then one of the other options we have is to expand the browser to work on both panels. And then we can put it back to just one. Or what we can do is load a second browser here. And this will give us the option to browse two panels in the same. So we'll go back to messaging on the bottom here, and that's how Simultask works. Simultask is very cool. Right now it's very limited, however. You can see these are the only applications that are compatible with it. We've got the browser and messaging, which we've seen. Contacts, gallery, email, again the stock email program, not Gmail, phone, and the view queue. Let's go ahead and we're going to open up view queue just regularly. View queue is YouTube. However, it is a special optimized version of YouTube for this. So down at the bottom here, we're going to have videos. We already had this open, so let's take it back a step, and this is going to be the landing page. So these are all the top YouTube videos that you have. Let's go ahead and load this one here. And apparently it's telling us that there is a network problem. So, not sure what that is since we have the internet open and running just fine, but we'll try that again in just a minute. Let's go back to the internet. As you can see, again, we have our PhoneArena homepage loaded. If we double tap, we can zoom in, zoom out. However, it does not do multi-touch. The phone is capable of multi-touch, but for whatever reason, the stock browser cannot do multi-touch. If we go to a third-party browser, like Firefox, let's see how long this takes to load. This will allow us to do multi-touch on here. So it's not a limitation of the phone, but for some reason, not all of the software supports multi-touch. When we initially loaded Google Maps, we also couldn't do multi-touch. That was a bummer because a lot of the new cool features where you can do the two-handed pan and the spin around to zoom require that multi-touch capability. It was loaded with version 5, which brought those features to play. However, once we updated to the latest 5.3.1, I believe it is, those features started working. So, again, something that we believe will be addressed in the software eventually. But now we have our PhoneArena page open, and we can do multi-touch. You'll also notice, though, that because this is Firefox, when we do the double tap, the double tap on the two panels, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't bring up simultask mode, and that's because Firefox is not simultask compatible. So The double tap on the two screens only works when you have apps that are compatible with the simultask. Web browsing, once you actually get the page open, has been pretty smooth, although here's another instance where it's locked up on us. So as you can see, there are definitely some software issues we found with the Kyocera Echo. Something that for right now, we'd probably say you might want to hold on, wait till they address this. Having read a few other reviews online, ours doesn't seem to be, acting quite the same way that others is, but it's something to be aware of for sure. Now we're back up and running and back to good. So that's how simultasking works on the device. That's how multitasking works in a real pane. We really like, this is very true multitasking where you can have two windows open on each side. It, in a lot of ways, kind of reminds us of Windows 7 Snap feature, where you can pull one window to the right side, one window to the left, and work on two things at the same time. We very, very much look forward to developers starting to get their hands on the SDK, starting to develop apps that can take advantage of both of these displays. But as you can also see, we are very excited for Kyocera and Sprint to get a little bit better software on this device so it runs a lot smoother. With the hardware that this has, we should not be seeing lockups like that. So now we've seen the two displays. That's the coolest thing about the Echo. The rest of it is pretty vanilla Android. It runs 2.2, which is what you'd expect 2.2 to be. We have the 5 megapixel camera back here with flash. For a $200 phone, the camera is not very good. Details are muddled. We just have some issues with it. If it was a $100 device, it's not too bad. Color reproduction was excellent. At times, details were good. It was more far away details like trees, leaves, and grass blades and things like that that got really sharp or out of context. The flash isn't too bad. It's nothing spectacular, but it'll get the job done. The overall feel of the phone could have used some work. As you can see, it's very angular, very sharp. It's a really thick device. So the problem with that is when you have a sharp angular device on a thick phone, it feels really thick. It feels like a brick, and it really does. We think that some tapering could really help out here. So we get this battery cover back on properly. It's a first device of its kind. There are definitely going to be some shortcomings. The materials that Sanyo, now Kyocera, has always used have never been all that premium. You can see the very plastically, very glossy plastics here, the little silver humps, which, at least in our opinion, are extremely dated, not too modern looking of a phone. But for a first device of its kind, the Kyocera Echo does a very admirable job. A lot of things can be fixed with software. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. As developers start getting their hands onto this and start making apps, and probably as we start seeing bigger name manufacturers like Samsung, like Motorola, like HTC start building phones like this, that's when the developers will really get into it and we'll start seeing a lot of the possibilities. But it shows us, again, some of the flexibility that Android offers us. It's not limited to display size. It's not limited to even one display. You can be running this. So we like a lot of things about the Echo. It's probably not the device that we carry right now. In fact, it's definitely not the device we carry right now. Some ongoing hinge issues potentially. Obviously, the software issues that we've seen. However, it's very cool. It's very slick. We've already gotten a number of features or a number of comments from people, as we've been using it the past day or two. Some people just stopping us in the store, stopping us at various places, asking what it is when they see us pull it out and flip the screen open. So it's eye-catching. It's innovative. We like that. It needs some work on the software end. Could probably use a little bit better hardware, but it's a first. It's a great start, and we really look forward to where a platform like this can go.